The question is, how is he going to bring him to the table? It's the only question. If you believe that Trump was going to end a war in a day between Russia and Ukraine, well, I don't know what to tell you, except you are easily fooled. Because to believe that is to believe that Russia has nothing else to do but wait until they are told what to do by Donald Trump. And that is not the way Vladimir Putin works. That's not a slam against Trump. Those are just the facts. Nothing more, nothing less. The idea that somehow Trump was going to say jump and Putin was going to say how high is just goes against all reality. Trump is now angry with Putin, threatening new tariffs on Russian oil. Meanwhile, you've got Volodymyr Zelensky out there saying that, oh, he's not going to make a deal. No. There won't be any deal with the United States when it comes to mineral rights. Don't be silly. Well, wait, I thought there was going to be a deal. I thought you were ready for a deal. Oh, no, that's a peace deal. That's not a deal on mineral rights. Well, that's okay because we were going to do the deal on energy. Oh, there's not going to be a deal on energy now. And all this has Trump being very, very clear.
Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. And if he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. We made a deal on rare earth. And now he's saying, well, I want to renegotiate the deal. He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. So if he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems.
I don't know what he thinks he's going to be able to do. But certainly, as we would all have understood from the very beginning, there is no NATO membership. There is nothing that's going to bring the United States into a relationship where Article 5 could be so easily put to the test. An attack against one is an attack against all, drawing the United States into war. It's just not going to happen. Ukraine will be the buffer between Russia and the NATO nations. That is just their lot. That is not going to change at all. That's not going to change. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything over at TonyKatz.com. Easy to find, live streaming as well on YouTube, on the Twittix at Tony Katz. You can check that out for yourself. Twittix is Twitter or X or whatever it is you want to call the thing. But now, never mind whether or not there's some deal with Ukraine. Never mind whether or not there's some deal with Russia. How are you going to get them to the table if they won't come? How do you get the war to end without a level of strength? This is where I diverge from the populist. And as a matter of speaking, I am not a populist. And I don't know what that makes me in the pantheon of hosts right now on radio in America. I'm very okay with being on the island. Not a populist. I don't think populism is worth the paper it's written on. You must have a core. That's my take. If populism moves with, just the times. There needs to be a core. There needs to be something fundamental. Even if you're not somebody who ascribes to any specific religion, you could say that there are tenets in your life that you do connect with, that you do engage, and that give you that sense of a standard, right? Rules for the road, which I'm a big believer in. I don't believe populism has rules for the road. Rather, populism has winds on which one can blow. Right? Bruce Lee could say, be like water from now until forever. I don't think that's true of one's politics. There is an idea, a philosophy, and the philosophy provides a value or it doesn't. And I believe conservatism provides a value and populism doesn't. But the question before us was, what happens if Trump cannot bring Russia and Ukraine to the table? You made a declaration that you would bring peace in a day. It'll end on day one. Now, admittedly, that's standard political talk. Anybody who actually thought Trump could end this on day one was out of their mind. But Trump said the words, so Trump has to deal with those words. But I would look at people who thought this, who truly believe this, and laugh at them because nobody truly believed this. But now what happens in a very real way if Trump can't get Russia and Ukraine to make a deal? What happens at that moment is it's a big question, a massive question. Allow me to at least give one answer, because no part of this is easy. Never assumed it easy. And part of the reason I never assumed it easy is probably the reason you didn't either. We're alike in many ways. We never once made the assumption that Russia was waiting for us to tell them what to do. Not everybody believes that. Some people absolutely thought Russia would do whatever we tell them to do. Oh, they're going to be afraid of Trump. They're just going to jump. No, that was never going to be. They were going to lie. They were never going to jump. They would do some things because certainly Trump is a more formidable person to deal with than Joe Biden. But Putin has desires, and those desires are expansionist. And when we get into this idea of Trump being angry with Putin, threatening new tariffs on oil, as being discussed, Trump was PO'd with Putin because he's not going in the right location, saying that Ukraine should be replaced with a temporary UN-run government. Trump saying I was PO'd about it. But if a deal isn't made, and if I think Russia is at fault, quote, I'm going to put secondary sanctions on Russia. 25% to 50% tariffs on Russian energy exports. That means anybody buying oil from Russia will not be able to sell that oil into the United States. The tariff numbers will be too high. It'll prevent them from being able to sell. Now, that doesn't mean it won't get purchased by China because maybe that drives the price down. But in either case, it doesn't help the Russians one bit. This gas station masquerading as a country, as the late Senator John McCain put it, maybe the only thing the man ever got right. I want to state that this moment is the greatest explanation for why the United States has to be in charge of the world order. Because when you put on the table, well, we can make a deal. We'll make a deal. There's a deal to be made. We're going to make a deal. It's going to be a beautiful deal. And then no deal is made. You're offering up the opportunity for somebody else to make the deal. That's what you're doing. If the United States can't make a deal, but China can, does China now get the rare earth minerals? China, which already can engage the idea of Russia as a vassal state, now do the same with Ukraine and all of that ability to grow food and those rare earth minerals? Maybe the better thing to have done would be to give Ukraine bullets and ammunition. Don't worry about getting paid back. Keep the Russians at bay and keep the Chinese at bay. Maybe that would have been the better thing to do. Maybe if you had given them the ability to use long-range missiles early on, you could have more damaged the Russian opportunity, and maybe this war would have been over. But Biden didn't do that. Maybe if you don't ask for the money back, but recognize that the money spent might actually give you an advantage down the road, maybe that would be better. Maybe it turns out that foreign policy involves the biggest stick you ever saw in your whole damn life and writing a couple of checks. That is absolutely upsetting to the person who is MAGA, because that person says that's the old guard and that way can't work anymore. We can't be in the forever wars and we can't be the world's policemen. They have an argument. I don't discount their argument, and I look askew at the people who do. How dare you discount where a good number of voters are, and a good number of Americans are? They're just sick and tired of the same old, same old, same old. And they have been willing to let Trump give it a go. Right. I swear to you, there are still people on the political right who don't understand that. It's the Bill Kristol nonsense lot. There are places where that methodology of saying we're done with you, you figure it out, we're not writing a check anymore, has purpose. So, for example, if we tell NATO, we're not here to cover the bill for you, and then you hate us and you dump all over us. Screw that. We don't get anything out of this relationship. Our job is to pay morning, noon, and night to keep the Russians at bay. What are you doing for us? All you do is attack us, insult us, demean us, degrade us. And then with these trade deals, you know what? Screw it. You either pay into NATO or we're done here. That is the proper engagement. 1,000%. And we should argue that Joe Biden did an incredible job of galvanizing NATO, because they all saw what happens when the United States is feckless and won't actually punch. And these European nations said, my gosh, we better do something to protect ourselves. And so they started to increase the spending. And then you saw Sweden and what was it, Norway come in, because Finland was already a member. And they were like, well, dear Lord, we can't trust these Russians anymore. And I can't trust America to keep them at bay. We need to be a part of NATO. I mean, that's just what happened. That's important. Resetting some of the stage on that. But when you tell people you're going to end the war in a day and you can't get the Russians to even agree to the deal they made the week before, maybe writing the check and maybe giving Ukraine the guns and the ammo was the right decision to begin with. Maybe you can't end this. Maybe it'll only end when it ends. That's with the death of Vladimir Putin. That's with the total destruction of the Ukrainian people. I don't know. But maybe the checks we wrote were worth it. Let me say it again, as clear, maybe a little more clearly. Maybe the checks we wrote were worth it. Maybe we don't need to be paid back. Maybe that's the last thing in the world we should be caring about, is getting paid back. Maybe that's not how we get paid. We already had the discussion of we would take over your energy or we'll do the mineral rights. Well, that's putting in the security guarantees, because you know you're not going to let a power plant get attacked. You'd kill every Russian you saw. And I'm talking to you, Vice President Vance. Nobody questions whether you would kill every Russian you saw. You wouldn't. You're going to have a deal where you take over the energy, and the first thing you're not going to do is surround that power plant with 5,000 troops of some kind? Stop it. Stop it. That's what the deal was. It was security guarantees without saying the words. The way you bring Russia to a table is through the squeeze. The way you bring Russia to the table is through a squeeze that prevents others from wanting to help them to not be squoze. Squoze in? Squoze? The United States should be invested in keeping Russia at bay and, without question, keeping them from taking Ukraine. And for the people who say that Russia doesn't have any expansionist desires, I will tell you that Trump threatening tariffs is the proof that they do, and Trump knows it. J.D. Vance in Greenland Denmark has not been good to you. They have not honored you. They have not provided you with the security that you need or the infrastructure you need. The United States is here because we need your help to deal with the geopolitical threats like Russia. Proving that Russia is the expansionist power. Russia is a country that wants to do harm, and we have to be in the best possible position to protect ourselves and our citizens from them. Oh, sure, it'd be nice to get paid also and work out that deal for sure. But maybe the payment is keeping Russia at bay. Maybe the payment is keeping China at bay. Maybe the payment is, yeah, it costs us money, but it costs them more because it costs them people. And they can't afford the people. Maybe it does pay to be the very top of the pecking order around the globe. And maybe in order to do that, you got to send bullets and write checks. I'm not saying everything has to be the old guard way. I'm saying maybe some of it was done for a reason. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Oh, am I going to get people angry with me? Oh. Okay. So I got a text. To join Newsmax tomorrow at 8 a.m., but I have a radio show. How do I do that? I'm writing them back. I wonder if I could send that through. Do you think if I was doing it like here, like I could just send it through to the station? I don't know. Anyway, hi, guys. Tony Katz. Tony Katz Today. What's going on? This right here is the Harborside Turquoise. This is the Hanoverian from Flederman von Riest. Thrilled to be working with them. Incredible watches assembled right here in the United States, in Indiana. Use promo code CATS and get your discount. Von Riest, R-I-E-S-T-E, vonriest.com for the Flederman von Riest. This, the Hanoverian. Look at that. That is in the Harborside Turquoise. That's pretty. That's pretty as a picture. Ooh, damn, I look good. Makes my wrist look so thin. Go to Von Riest, R-I-E-S-T-E. Go to vonriest.com and get your discount if you would. Newsmax went public today. Congratulations to them. I think that's good. I think it opened at $14 a share. Full disclosure, I do not own any shares at all of Newsmax. Media Alpha now at $9.47. So that's where it is. I'm curious. I'm curious to see where it goes. Certainly, I want success for them. I wouldn't want anything but. I want them to be successful as can be. John Boy asking, you are saying stuff that they need to hear, not what they want to hear. That's why any of them would be mad. Yeah. The people who voted for Trump, and I'm one of those people. There's a desperation amongst certain sectors of the political right to completely dismiss them. That is an absurdity. Don't dismiss these people. That's what the Bill Kristols of the world do, and the Bulwarks, and these gross pseudo intellectuals who believe themselves to be the arbiters of what is conservatism. Still, How about rather you have an honest conversation of, here's what you're saying. I understand what you're going for, but what if you still need to do this right here? That's my argument. That not everything gets wrapped up in a bow so easily. There is the gray. Some things there's a black and white, but man, there is the gray. Let's get back to the show. I have got plenty on the Tesla protests. These people are violent. Are you ready for the new summer of love? If you missed my conversation with Congresswoman Victoria Spartz of Indiana, who had 2 town halls not too far from where I live, full disclosure, she's my member of Congress. The screaming and the yelling and everything else, and then they took a clip of her saying, if you violate the law, you don't get due process. And they spread it everywhere because they're frauds. They're lefty frauds. Tony Katz today, great to be with you. So I spent Sunday setting the record straight. And she joined me on my morning show where we discussed the whole clip about those who are in the country illegally, which will lead us to conversations regarding the Fifth Amendment, which says no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime, and it continues, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So the question is, does no person include the illegal immigrant? The answer is yes, kind of. And they won't ever address the kind of. There are a series of court cases. We can go back to as early as June of 2020. The court holding that, quote, while aliens who have established connections in this country have due process rights in deportation hearings, an alien, quote, at the threshold of initial entry. That's the quote. Including a person who is detained shortly after unlawful entry, has only those protections regarding admission that Congress provided by statute, not the Constitution. So when we're discussing the deportation of illegal immigrants and these Venezuelan gang members who we've already designated, like we designated the cartels, for example, as a terrorist group, that is in and of itself a different category. So the people screaming Fifth Amendment, they're not wrong, but they are not engaged in the totality of a conversation. So we need to be. Because these people would tell you that if you're here illegally, you have the same rights as a citizen. And that's just not the case. As a matter of fact, that is so absurd that we should be asking ourselves whether or not it's time for a new amendment to the Constitution to better clarify that statement. Because if you're in the country illegally, you should not have any of the rights of the Constitution. Outside of those, I would argue, that would keep you from being physically attacked on the streets. Because in no society would I ever be okay with that. But if you broke the law, you go. And saying that you get the Constitution seems odd. But we'll discuss. But we have to understand the totality of what the courts have said. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. freaking communists. No, in this case, I wasn't just talking. I meant an actual literal communist. Right there. Sorry. Oh my gosh. So first of all, welcome. Tony Katz. The show's called Tony Katz today. It's good to be with you. Secondly, I know we're going to start doing the longer stream. It's just not going to happen today. Please don't hit me. It can't happen today. Just cannot. Forgive me. There we go. Coming back in a minute. You tell me what you want to talk about. I'm up for anything. Yeah, we're doing a couple things at once. You guys know we do the radio show in addition to this, right? So that's why we take these breaks. It's because the radio show is in break. And what is going on? Is that that? Is that right there? Yeah. It's better. It's better. It is better. I like it. It's good. It is good. And of course, your TK gear. There is a lot to get to. I don't know if I'm going to get to everything. I'm going to try. I do have that conversation with Victoria Spartz. I have a great conversation for the radio show with EJ Antoni, economist over at Heritage, about what we're seeing. A ton to get to, and I promise to make it worth your while. But first, entitled celebrities. Just so awful. So ridiculous.
It isn't easy. None of it is. Waking up and choosing to be yourself, proclaiming a space belongs to you when you don't feel welcomed, teaching people on a daily basis how to address you, and dealing with the frustration of reteaching people a word that has been in the human vocabulary since the dawn of time. They, them.
You are not special, Cynthia. I do not know why you speak like this. I do not know why you engage like this. I do not know why that you feel that you are put upon. The United States has said, we see your talent. Here's the money. Here's the fame. And yet somehow you are put upon because somebody won't use a pronoun. I think it's time for you to calm down and accept the fact that asking other people to lie is a sin. It's obscene. It is bigoted. It is not kind. It is not loving. You are none of those things. You are not kind nor loving, but you are indeed obscene if you want people to lie to you and lie to themselves. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. I apologize for nothing. To think that somehow life is hard because I won't say they or them. No. Life is hard when you then come after me and want to cancel me for not lying to you and lying to myself. There are 4 lights, and I ain't going to lie to myself for nothing. The days where I lied to myself were the days I wanted to kill myself. I'm done with that. I have moved on. And I am not interested in playing in your silly games, and your games are silly. I want to make sure we're starting from a place of understanding. Go build your career. But please stop telling me that somehow you are an arbiter of decency and goodness. No part of this is true. What you are discussing is horrific and shameful. Asking people to lie to you, to lie for you, to lie to themselves, there is nothing more gross. There is nothing more, hey, you go directly to hell for that idea. Obscene. Maybe equally obscene, maybe more so, is telling somebody who's black, you're not really black because of your politics. There's a part of me that wants to take credit for this. For years, and when I say for years, since the beginning of my career, back when I was on stations that no one ever heard of, in towns no one could ever find, on stations that I'm not sure if they actually had a working antenna. To the progressive, if you are gay and conservative, you are not really gay. If you're a woman and conservative, you're not really a woman. If you're black and conservative, you're not really black. For years and years and years. And you can go back in the record. I'm on the record. This is how the left acts. It's one of the reasons that when I realized I'd made the mistake of saying it, I stopped saying it. I don't get to decide who's actually Jewish, although I've got, oh my gosh, remind me to share with you the whole Yale fascism thing. You're going to lose your head. I don't get to decide who's really Jewish. I do, however, believe that there are people who've given up their Judaism for liberalism. I have said that many times. Are they still Jewish? Well, they tell me they are. Who am I to say no? But when you talk about their ideology, what part of that actually connects to a level of, we'll call it religiosity? And more importantly, what makes anybody think that this is somehow a foundational principle? That's the biggest problem. But this idea of, if you're gay and conservative, you're not really gay. If you're a woman and conservative, you're not really a woman. If you're black and conservative, you're not really black. This is the way the political left has operated for years. Because to be any of those things, which we are told are things that need to be protected, these are minorities. These people are special. They need to have protections. They're a special class. You have to love them more and give more and care more. It only matters if you think a certain way, which is why the whole concept of DEI is such a mess. No one ever believes in the diversity of the mind. No one ever believes in including the conservative. No one. They flat out don't believe it at all. They don't care. If you are not with them, well, then you're the enemy, and you can't be any of these other things, because all these other things are predicated by what you think. The leftist, the progressive, hate you for who you are and what you believe. And we see this in the Tesla protests. But most importantly, they hate you for not thinking like they do. That's the key one. There you were during COVID, walking around without your mask, smiling all the way. I'm walking down the street, gonna get myself an ice cream. Don't need a mask because COVID is not gonna do me that much harm. And if it does, I'm gonna take some ivermectin and it'll be fine no matter what they say, because my doctor thought it was cool. I just got winded. It was a long walk. And there they were, locked in their house, mask on, a shield over them like they were Lloyd Austin, staring out the window while telling their kids they weren't allowed to even look outside, seeing you walk down the street to get ice cream, and they got infuriated. As my brother, the good Dr. Katz, has more than once explained, nothing enrages the prisoner. Nothing enrages the prisoner more than seeing a free man walk free. They hate you for not thinking like they do. And because you do not think like they do, you do not get to be in their club. The black person who is a conservative is also black. It does not disappear because of ideology. The black person who is a liberal is also black, and it does not appear because of an ideology. That's weird. Yet it's what the leftist believes. Case in point, Jasmine Crockett is the gift that keeps on giving. Talking on that radio show, The Breakfast Club, about Congressman Byron Donalds, who is black, and talking about Byron Donalds' wife.
And if we continue to put people into office, and that even means some of our skinfolk who definitely are not our kinfolk, such as Byron Donalds, who are going to continue to say, that, like, I mean, the fact that you sitting around talking about life was better under Jim Crow, like, is this because you don't understand history? Or literally it's because you married a white woman and so you think that whitewashed you? I'm not really sure like what it is,
well,
but
you
I
couldn't
need
even be married to a white woman under Jim
correct,
Crow.
correct. And it took Joy to call him out. So I'm like, bro, like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you saying? Like, he just out here, you know, I feel like they give him his talking points and he's like, yes, massa, I got it.
Ooh, she even threw in a yes, massa. It might start at first that she is a bigot, right? That might be the first thought, that Representative Jasmine Crockett is a bigot. But before we get into that, let's discuss the fact that she comes from a well-to-do life. She comes from a family that sent her to private schools. She went to an all-girls Catholic school. She has taken on this affect of look how tough I am as a way of getting some level of credibility. But if you go back a couple years to her conversations, she never did this stuff. Maybe she did it privately, but she never did it publicly. Certainly, you did not hear her saying of black men that they were saying yes, massa. Some pretty ugly stuff. Now we can get into the bigotry. First, the idea of speaking of somebody else's spouse. Whoo! That ain't right. Oh, I know how I would react, but I'm not going to go with that conversation. I'm not sure how Byron Donalds is going to react, if he is at all. Skinfolk, but not kinfolk. You understand what that means. Oh, they look like us, but they ain't really us. Right? It's like the expression in Oreo. Have you ever heard the expression in Oreo? Black on the outside, white on the inside. If you're Asian, I believe they use the expression of banana. Same mathematics. Oh, you can send your emails my way all you want. I'm not saying anything that isn't well known and true regarding Jasmine Crockett's bigotry here, to which she is. Her argument, which is as simplistic as time, is that it's an us or them, black versus white. Jasmine Crockett has made the decision that she can profit off of racial schism, a la Al Sharpton. Might as well go in that direction. Might be some good dollars in that. So she sees people as having a divide based on melanin, or at least she says it in hopes of building up some credibility and some financial opportunity. That's her. That's Jasmine Crockett. This tough guy talk, wherever that comes from, and now making the claim that Byron Donalds isn't actually authentically black. Oh, he looks the part, but you know, when it comes down to it. Now, she does not address the fact that Kamala Harris had a white husband. Has a white husband. Are they still married? They are. I don't know. Life is strange after politics. I think we can go through a list of people. People who are black and married to someone who is white. And it's always that white person who has corrupted the black person. So not only is Jasmine Crockett saying that Byron Donalds isn't black, not legitimately black, it's not only Jasmine Crockett saying that Byron Donalds is a slave to white people, but it's Jasmine Crockett pushing the idea that if you're white, your ideas poison people who are black. Can I ask how you create a better nation that way? Can I ask why anybody thinks she's good or kind? Why or somehow has something to offer? And can I ask, most importantly, that Democrats keep putting her on TV? Keep making this bigot, this fool front and center. We beg you. She alone is going to guarantee Republicans a victory in 2026. get through a couple of these special elections, bring it on to the midterms. Whoo! This bigot? Oh, she's a dream. Get her a TV show right away. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you. I don't know if she gets any pushback, Jasmine Crockett. I really don't. There has to come a moment where Hakeem Jeffries is like, would this woman just stop talking already? She is absolutely ruining us. You would think, but nope, they don't do anything. They don't say anything. Nothing changes. Even if you were to demand something of her, nothing would happen. Hold on, the communist is upset with me. Never be eloquent with a communist. Tell them they're awful, then destroy their ideology. Right? Is there anything else? Capitalism is great. There it is. Not putting up with nonsense, and certainly not nonsense people. And there's been a lot. It's been fascinating, and maybe you've been seeing this in your social media feeds as well. There's this desire to, well, there's a circular logic conversation. Actually, it's actually circular argument. They'll start here. And then they'll go here and here and here and here. They'll move the subject. Like if they start here with a question and you engage that question, they move to this. You're like, whoa, we're talking about this. And they're like, whoa, what about this? And then you answer that and they move and they move. And eventually they get to the place where you're like, well, I don't have an opinion on that. Or I don't even know what that is. Or it's some madness thing. And they're like, see, you're not willing to talk. We're not in charge of anything. Remember, in any debate, you are not actually trying to change their mind. It's the people who are listening. That is fundamental. You cannot change the mind of somebody who is insane. You can't do it. Certainly, I'm not trying to change the mind of communists. I'm trying to get other people not to be communists so that the communists themselves just simply fall apart and die out. of natural causes. I am not the political violence person. By the way, this Marine Le Pen story, oh, this is nuts. Coming back to the radio show. So France decided that Marine Le Pen, Marine Le Pen, who has been a candidate repeatedly in France, who has been building up her political party. They decided that she was involved in embezzling. This is what she was leading in the polls. So now they decided that she's guilty of embezzling, and now she's not allowed to run for office. A 100,000 euro fine, a 4-year prison sentence, 2 of which will be suspended. For something that, if it happened, took place in Belgium and not France, right? Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Europe is not a good place. You want to talk about the people who want to keep control and utilize their power to control others. This is ugly as sin. Now, I don't claim an expertise in French politics, and I certainly cannot give yet all the details that exist here from this story. But from what we can gather, she was doing well in polls. There were there was momentum, as there is across Europe, for changes. Even in Germany, where they didn't win the election, the alternative party, AfD, which of course the left decided was some far right Nazi party, because they decide that about everybody. Remember, they can't swing a cat without saying the word Nazi. It's all they do. They absolutely dismiss the Holocaust. They dismiss the damage that was done. They dismiss the horror of the Nazis because everybody's a Nazi. Elon Musk is not a Nazi. And if your cousin or your uncle or your teacher or someone says that they are, your teacher, your uncle, your cousin's a total scumbag. Stop using Nazis as a political crutch, you filthy lowlife animals. Have a conversation like a normal person, or shut up. Those are the options. Screaming that someone's a Nazi because you don't have any other ability to discuss a displeasure or a disagreement doesn't give you any level of intellect. It doesn't give you an excuse. A diminishing of the Holocaust is obscene, and these people are obscene people. Equally obscene is to say, well, we need to get rid of our political opponents. Let's just throw them in jail. It's what the Americans tried to do. We could learn something from them, which is weird because the American left was learning something from the Europeans. Well, more on that story. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. Gross. Gross stuff. Hold on 1 second. Oh, Lord. Sorry. Commies. So here's what's going on. We are in the radio break, so we're going to take the break right now as well. I'm glad that you're here. We're going to come back. I've got the Yale fascism story. I've got the test and protest stuff. And I think people missed this congressional hearing regarding the FAA and the Army. 15,000 plus near misses between 2021 and 2024, and the Pete Buttigieg Transportation Department did nothing about it. I've got that story. That is all coming up. Guys, we're going to take the break because we're in the radio break. We'll be back in a little bit. Keep it right here. And if you follow me on the Twittix at Tony Katz, which you should, and you see a commie, it's okay. You can say something, within reason, right? We'll be back in a moment. I didn't mean to stop that so abruptly. And I scratched myself. Look at that. That is just a mess. Guys, welcome. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. We got the radio show, and we do that with the live stream right here. Oh, did I scratch myself? Look at that. Can I cover it? Can I cover it? No. It's just the way it is. All right. Presented by Flederman von Riest. Your watch people. Gotta love them. Look at that. So that is the Hanoverian, and it is in the Harborside turquoise. That's the color right there. You go to vonriest.com, R-I-E-S-T-E. Go to vonriest.com and get your watch. And use promo code CATS. And then you'll get a discount, which is kind of awesome. And you should do that. So we're going to get back to the show. I'm going to talk about this Yaley with the most ridiculous, silly, nonsense take. And also, am I missing anything? I hit the Marine Le Pen story, which infuriates. I don't know if I was missing anything going on. No, I am not. I thought maybe I was missing something. I know Supreme Court is hearing a case on tax exemptions for Catholic-based organizations, but no sense in tuning into that. I want to be able to understand a little bit more before I get into it. So there it is. I'm glad you're here. If you got a comment, leave it. Make sure you're following on the Twittix at Tony Katz. We have 30 seconds until the show. And you guys know I work, I have a home studio, and so I check in, in the kitchen, and my wife, who understands the kitchen well, was making carne asada, and it's very good and a little smoky, and now I'm feeling it, which it's just because, normally you don't talk this much after eating carne asada. You just sit there and say, oh, it's so good. But now I'm feeling it. So neither here nor there. Anyway, that's what's going on with me. I'm glad you're here. Let's start a show, shall we? There is a guy at Yale, which is usually how one starts a conversation with the police of, I'd like a restraining order. And there's a guy at Yale who they were highlighting on MSNBC. No, it's not this woman.
The nature of the ICE abductions of international graduate students and immigrants across the country since the Trump administration came into office has been horrific. People are being taken without being told why, and by officers who are sometimes masked and not in uniform.
I would like to know where she gets her data from. Masked and not in uniform. You mean undercover? Do you mean masked and not in uniform? Are they undercover in some way? And are you sure that people aren't being told why they're being detained? Am I supposed to believe the errant college student? And just as a step further, let's say they're not being informed at that second. I do not know what the rules are there. Are we talking about American citizens or not? Now, this is going to bring about the great conversation regarding the Fifth Amendment and the very concept of no person. And as we have discussed, the idea of no person does not mean that the Constitution applies to anyone who is in the United States of some level of equal measure. The citizen being different than the non-citizen, and the law stating so. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. But this woman just complaining here is not my story. No. My story is about a guy who calls himself a fascism scholar. I did not know such a thing exists. I always figured to be a fascism scholar, one would have had to have lived in Poland from 1930 to about 1982. That to me is somebody who would be scholarly in fascism, having endured both the Nazis and communism. Remember, the political spectrum is not a line, it's a circle. And the communism and the fascism are next to each other. What's the real difference? The total oppression, the total devastation, the inability to think for oneself, the inability to live your life, the inability to make change without bloodiness. Don't think of it as a line. Think of it as a circle. These things actually connect. Honestly, you're going to be doing this tonight. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, that is so true. Because it is. I would love to have taken credit for that. I am not the first person to say such a thing. Not at all. Fascism scholar. Well, this is something else. And this Yale fascism scholar is telling MSNBC that he's moving out of the United States. He's moving to Canada. Now, I think Canada should be made aware of his presence. And we should ask ourselves, what exactly do we think the Canadians would do at this moment?
What would Brian Boitano do if he was here right now? He'd make a plan and he'd follow through. That's what Brian Boitano do. What would Brian Boitano do if he were here today? I'm sure he'd kick ass or two. That's what Brian Boitano do.
Probably. But you've got Mark Carney instead as your prime minister. By the way, Mark Carney, who took over for Justin Trudeau, now allegations of plagiarism back in his academic days. Can people please just write their own crap? That would be so helpful. Make sure when you're using ChatGPT, you say, hey, don't make this look like anybody else's stuff. That'd be terrific. Anyway, this fascism scholar, he's moving out of the U.S. And why?
And so we're seeing President Trump consolidate power, pushing to quiet dissent, pressuring law firms and universities, detaining scholars. He's also attacking the judiciary and any judges who block or question his policies. How would you describe this moment for America?
It is a brutal attack on America's freedoms. It's an attack specifically on our democratic institutions, the legal system, the courts and universities, and the media. And these institutions the media has been attacking universities for a decade. They've been doing Trump's work for him. So that doesn't help when the democratic institutions are working against each other. And each of
Hold. The media has been attacking the universities? Where? When? All of a sudden, I'm Vinny Barbarino. What? Where? When? Someone show me when exactly the U.S. government under Biden was going after universities. Because there was a hearing where Elise Stefanik dressed down these bigoted university presidents for allowing anti-Semitism to run rampant when they knew that if it was anything else, they would have put the kibosh on it because they actually sided with these pro-Hamas goons? What are you talking about? Going after when in the world did this happen? Where did this happen? But if you say it, It's a brutal attack on America's freedoms. It's an attack specifically on our democratic institutions. The university is as democratic institution. Usually we refer to institutions as things that are government run. Right? Not so much the university system, which has been attacking conservatives for multiple decades. But let's go back to this fascism expert.
Each of these institutions in the face of this attack on democracy and this attack on freedom by a ruler who's completely saying he wants to be a king, and a political party that's behaving like communist China and lining up 100% against him. In the face of this, universities are turning on each other, are saying, oh, we don't want to be in the public, we're going to hide under the table. Law firms stealing each other's clients. So it's not a positive development, and I'm going to continue calling it out from the University of Toronto.
Jason.
Oh, well, if you're going to call it out from the University of Toronto, I guess everything is fine. Trump is the ruler who's saying he wants to be king, and a political party that's behaving like communist China and lining up 100% against him. So now you're calling the Democrats communist, which would be accurate. If you follow my social media feed, you'll see I'm dealing with a communist right now. But the follow-up here is just terrific. Why, if you think America is in such dire straits, would you move? For what reason?
I wonder, there are probably people watching this right now thinking, well, you have a lot to say. You are an American citizen. Why not stay and try to be the change you're seeking? Why not be part of the pushback to this sort of behavior?
I will continue to throw punches against fascism and bullies from Canada. Don't worry. I have 2 Black and Jewish kids. I think my kids actually are more important to me than anything else. They're using my religion to go after academic freedom, crushing universities supposedly in the name of protecting my people, American Jews. My kids are Jewish. My kids are Black. They're attacking their history. And I want to send a political message, as I've been doing with my work. This comes at great personal cost. This is not I'm taking a huge salary cut. I'm not a super wealthy person. I'll still be well paid, but I'm taking like a 25% salary cut, moving myself from my homeland that I love. Mm-hmm. And I love America because it doesn't have kings. I don't love America because we can punch other people in the nose.
Funny, it's the left who always discusses punch a Nazi. It's the left who's attacking Jews on the street. It's the left who's burning Teslas to the ground. It's the left engaged in vandalism. And you're worried about Trump? It's the left who shot at that man trying to kill him. You're worried about Trump. I must go back, though, to this very idea that he's doing this because his kids are Black and Jewish.
They're using my religion to go after academic freedom.
No part of that is true. I want to say for the record, I think that this fascism expert, Jason Stanley, is lying. Your religion, Judaism, is not being utilized to go after academic freedom. The Jewish kids on the campuses are being attacked for being Jewish, are being threatened, intimidated for being Jewish. And so, by the way, are those kids who support them. They're the ones being prevented from walking on the campus. They're the ones being terrorized when they're in a library. They're the ones under attack. The religion is not being utilized to cause the attack. The religion is the reason for the attack from people who hate the religion. These aren't freedom fighters. These are your classic haters. That's all they are. If you wear a keffiyeh, you're playing dress up. If you're wearing a keffiyeh and you don't live in Gaza, if you're on the campus of Columbia University, let's make it a little more specific, it's all dress up. Look how woke I am. Look how I'm fighting for the good guy. The good guy? You mean Hamas? If you step foot in Gaza, you'd be dead unless, of course, you're a woman. You'd be raped and then dead. And you know it. So you don't go to Gaza. What you do is you play dress up on the Columbia University campus, and you take over buildings, and you claim the university won't even bring us water. Dear Lord, you've got DoorDash on your phone. What's wrong with you? Go order a smoothie. But we're just like the people in Gaza. No, you're playing dress up. And the religion being attacked is the Jews and those who align with them. And those doing the attacking are the problem. Your religion, Jason, wasn't weaponized. That's a lie. I mean, that's just, there is no basis for it at all. What an odd, strange thing to say. And one has to wonder why it got said to begin with. How does that argument now make its way in? Because now that it has been said, you can rest assured that other people will start saying it. Oh, guaranteed. Because they'll say anything other than discuss what is. These pro-Hamas, anti-American zealots aren't interested in just destroying the Jews. They're interested in destroying America. The target, I have said this numerous times, the target actually isn't the Jewish student. I mean, that's the low-hanging fruit. The target is the non-Jewish student. The target is the American student. The target is Americans. The target is America and the destruction thereof. And how much more damage we can do and how much more damage we can do. And all of this is going to lead to the newest summer of love. We will discuss that coming up. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Thank you, producer Landon. One day I'll figure out how to get his audio into you guys so you can hear him. Meanwhile, angry commie still coming my way. He's so angry. Not my fault. Not my fault. But I'm done talking to him now. Now I'm back with you. Questions? I've got answers. You've got questions. I have got answers for you. Happy to discuss. Some of us are not on X. Okay, how would I show the comment? Oh, okay, maybe I could take a screenshot. There we go. Let me see if I can do this. Now you have to follow me. I'm not. I'd have to go back too far in line to grab it all. But people angry with capitalism. So angry with capital. Let me see if I can grab this one right here. There it is. And this guy is an elected official in Indianapolis, Indiana. That's right. Indy elected a commie. I know it's the Midwest. You're like, how? And I'm like, yeah, it happens. It absolutely, sadly happens. Let me see if I can bring this to you. Boom. Let me see if I can get it. So this was it. He referred to me as eloquent. And so I was like, never be eloquent with a communist. Tell them they're awful and then destroy their murderous ideology. Capitalism is great. To which he responded, if you live by the rule, never be eloquent. This explains so much about your career. I love learning new things about you. A reminder, 6 hours of radio a day, weekend shows, live events, TV. I'll be on Newsmax tonight with Ed Henry. I think my proof of eloquence is well earned. Communism sucks. Destroy communism. It doesn't need much more than that. It's just that it is that simple. Meanwhile, I've got Rand Paul on tariffs, and I gotta listen to this in the break. You guys, I'm gonna need you to listen to this with me when we come back to this from the show. And tell me what you think about. Did you hear about the Amber Ruffin? She was going to be the host of the White House Correspondents Association dinner, and then they disinvited her because they don't want a political thing. And Trump's not going, and you've got a lot of Republicans who are not going, and the White House Correspondents Association is trying to figure out how they're going to deal with all this. Well, they got rid of this host, and this host is letting loose. So I want you to hear something, and then we'll see if we can bring it to the show.
I mean, the markets are going topsy-turvy, a little bit up, a little bit down. Wednesday is April 2nd, when the deadlines come for tariffs. Do you think President Trump will make a deal before then?
Well, I think tariffs are bad for any country, and I think they'd be bad for America. And economically, I think they'll hurt us. The stock market, is millions of people voting every day with their pocketbook, and the stock market's very skittish, afraid of tariffs. I live in a state where we have 3 of the big automobile manufacturers. They're all opposed to the tariffs and thinks that it will hurt them. We have the bourbon industry in Kentucky. They don't like the tariffs. I've got farmers. They don't like the tariffs. I really don't have any organized business interested in my state that think they're a good idea. This is just something I disagree with President Trump on. So I'm not for the tariffs. And
I'm a guy who disagrees about the tariffs as well. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. That's Senator Rand Paul. And oh yeah, the tariffs on bourbon. Look, you already have bourbon drinking down because Gen Z or whatever comes after that, they're not drinkers. You have inflationary costs, which have priced some things out. It's bad for bourbon. It is. Don't get me wrong. I still love it. There's still plenty of stuff I haven't tried yet. But you can't get me to believe in tariffs as good policy. But as EJ and Tony over at Heritage Foundation, economists there will explain, the economy is about more than these tariffs right now. For sure. I've got some people asking me how the weather is here. Of course, we do the show from the Midwest. We're Midwest people. We play mostly in the Midwest. We play in St. Louis. We play in Tulsa. We play in Peoria. We play in Memphis. We play in Detroit. And thrilled with that. You still have 400,000 people approximately without power as of the midday on Monday after those storms came through. They were they were strong. Now where I was, central Indiana, certainly nothing. Just some rain and some lightning. That's it. The clouds did look weird. The wind did look weird. And so you were aware, like, okay, this is something. And it went from like the day before it was 70 something. It was outrageous, but it was certainly windy and the winds were picking up and it was ugly in the morning, and then it got nice in the afternoon. And then you felt the temperature drop and the winds picked up. You're like, okay, no idea how this is going to work out. And certainly you're always watching the clouds and how they're blowing. And do you feel that there's any level of curvature, any spin possible? Oh, you're always looking at that. So It did look weird. It did present as awkward. That said, it wasn't bad here, but plenty of places. I mean, in Indiana, 2 people were killed by the storms. One, an Amish person in their buggy that got blown over, and the other one, a semi that got blown over. There were winds in some areas at 81 miles an hour, and that made it. I mean, that's just deadly stuff. Not only for a truck turning over, but things that can get picked up by that wind, and now that's a projectile flying through the air. So you have 3 who were killed in Michigan. And in Oklahoma, a fallen tree killed a couple in their trailers. So yeah, this was not good stuff. There are right now 3 reported tornadoes. Missouri, Michigan, and Tennessee is where they were reported. And I'm assuming by the end of the day today, we'll see the extent of the damage. Could have been worse, sure. Could have been worse, but it's just one of those things that every time you hear like, hey, be prepared for this, hey, keep an eye on this, people get inured to it, and they don't give it the credence. And so sometimes, on the radio side or local TV, they get accused of fear-mongering because they're talking about it. It's a storm coming. And when you've got the winds and you've got the ability, for that to become a tornadic activity, you should be talking about it. So yeah, it was rough and still not as bad as it could have been, I think, from a cost damage perspective. But 6 lives, that's more damaging than I ever could have wanted. This is Tony Katz Today. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Happy to have answered the question, Christine. Okay. Let's look at this right here. And let's decide whether... So I'm going to share this with you. Now let's decide whether or not we could share this on air. This is that Amber Ruffin saying how she was going to call... how she was going to be hosting the event, but the White House Correspondents Association dinner, but then they canceled her, and what she was going to say. So I don't know if she gets dirty here or not. Let's listen.
Well, maybe you could do that for the White House Correspondents. Just change it up this year.
Oh my goodness. Oh God. Okay. So will anyone from the administration be attending? How much do you actually know about who will be in attendance? Do you get like the rundown?
I'm sure that I will at some point.
You will.
I
Okay.
know the news organizations that will be
Yeah.
attending. I don't think the people confirm until quite a bit later. I don't necessarily, like, I'm not 100% interested in being like, ha, you're here. Look at your stupid head. You're burned. I care, like, you're kind of a bunch of murderers. I mean, so like they were like, you need to be, equal and make sure that that you give it to both sides and blah, blah, blah. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be freaking doing that, dude. Under no circumstances.
When you as a performer, like when you have like a live performance that you're doing for the people who are there, and are you doing it more? It's for the cameras or it's for the people in the room? And how do you make? I don't know. Is that just an organic process of figuring out who you?
Yeah, it's a tough room, right? It's a big room. It's
terrible room.
3,000 people in the Hilton Ballroom in Washington, which
Mhm.
is hard to command. And then you've got the audience, the television audience.
Yeah, it's never great to do both, especially in a bad environment like that. And they say it's a bad audience. And sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's not. They're certainly poorly mic'd for sure, times 1,000. Everyone I've talked to said it feels a lot better than it looks.
Right.
So that makes me feel hopeful. But also, it's just a horrible room. It's a bad room for comedy. It's not great.
Right.
So she wants to refer to people she disagrees with as murderers. And you wonder why she was disinvited. You wonder, you're like, how did that happen? And you wonder why Trump's not going. Why would anybody go? Why would anybody show up to that stuff? By the way, if I got invited, I would go just to be able to report on it. Also, I want to taste the chicken. If I got asked to host the White House Correspondents Association dinner, I would totally do it. I'd be hilarious. But what a person to offer this up to. Hey, you want to host this thing? Sure do, but I'm going to call the political right murderers. Fantastic. Here's your microphone. And this all plays into the summer of rage and the summer of love. Let's discuss. Coming back to the radio show now. So they gathered at Tesla dealerships all across the country to call the people who work there Nazis. I don't know what they're doing. You work at a Tesla dealership, I don't know your politics. You're Elon Musk who owns Tesla. Okay, you've made your politics known. At least you've shown support for certain things, certain subjects, certain areas. So if people who disagree with that don't want to buy a Tesla, you would agree that that's fine. Don't buy a Tesla. I don't buy Bud Light, mainly because, I like beer. Tony Katz today, what are you doing? Find it all at TonyKatz.com. The live stream is happening. You can go to YouTube and find it, or just go to Twitter X, look for Tony Katz. I'm right there. I'll be the guy smoking the cigar. And they went to the Tesla dealerships to intimidate all those people who work at Tesla, just like they've been trying to intimidate people who own Teslas. They've been pulling people over, blocking them from driving, to scream at them, yell at them, physically attack them. People have been arrested for defacing vehicles, for setting them on fire in Las Vegas. The political left is getting more and more violent. Now, before we go any further, I don't have to do anything except go back to a field in Butler on July 13th, where President Trump took a bullet. I wouldn't have to go any further back than a congressional softball game practice, where Steve Scalise was almost murdered. And if it wasn't for two Capitol Police officers, numerous Republicans would be dead today. There isn't much to do to prove the point. Well, Tony, January 6th. Good gosh, are we really doing this? Okay, let us really do this. You would think that January 6th would be the reason not to do any of it. If you were so horrified by the acts of January 6th, so mortified, so disgusted, it was so anti-American, why is it okay to threaten people driving down the street whom you don't know? Why is that? Is it because it happened at your church? Of course, DC, the federal government being the church of the left. Is that why? Because I thought riots, which January 6th was, were wrong when it happened in Seattle, in Portland, in Minneapolis, in Indianapolis, and your city as well. I thought riots were wrong then and said so. I thought burning people's businesses down was wrong then, said so. Also said January 6th was a riot and wrong, said so. If it was wrong and you believed it, why would it be okay to see what we see at these Tesla dealerships? Why is this all right? It's a question that the left won't answer. And if you say to me, Tony, it's kind of hard to bring people together if you're always talking about this in a divisive way, but it is happening in a divisive way. So it has to be stated honestly so it can stop. Let me give an example of the divisive way. Amber Ruffin is a comic, from what I'm told. And Amber Ruffin was going to be the host of the White House Correspondents Association dinner. And Amber Ruffin was then disinvited from being the host. As she said on a podcast, I think that's Samantha Bee she's on with, this was her plan.
Should be attend. How much do you actually know about who will be in attendance? Do you get like the rundown?
I'm sure that I will at some point.
will.
I
Okay.
know the news organizations that will be
Yeah.
attending. I don't think the people confirm until quite a bit later. I don't necessarily, like, I'm not 100% interested in being like, ha, you're here. Look at your stupid head. You're burned. I care that, like, you're kind of a bunch of murderers. I mean, so like they were like, you need to be, equal and make sure that that you give it to both sides and blah, blah, blah. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be freaking doing that, dude.
That's Amber Ruffin. The political right are murderers, and now I'm going to go entertain everybody. Don't look at me and say somehow I'm being divisive. Her plan, if she had been able to be the host of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, was to call people murderers. That brings us to this right here. This is from The View. I know. I apologize for that, but this is from the View.
F these people.
I'm sorry, what?
F these people.
That's not necessary at all. And this was them in response to Amber Ruffin.
It feels great. It makes them feel like human beings, but they
Yes.
shouldn't get to feel that way because they're not.
That was Amber Ruffin saying of the political right, they're not human beings. It's what she said. Bring it to Whoopi Goldberg.
It's a funny thing. Free speech.
Yeah.
What do you think about the decision to drop her?
So at first I thought the White House Correspondents Association were being a bunch of cowards, but then I watched that. And the most important thing that journalists need to do in this moment is be able to show that they can objectively, without fear or favor, cover this administration. And objectively is the key word. And for a lot of Americans, when there's record high distrust in the media, if you have them sitting in a room with somebody who basically said Trump administration officials are subhuman, there were a bunch of murders, it adds to distrust in the press. It comes.
That's Alyssa Farah, the conservative, at least making an argument to the best of her ability.
Off as a kind of a tacit endorsement of what she's saying. And I think it's an important event to highlight good journalism. My worry is without having a comedian altogether, that will fall by the wayside and fewer people will tune in.
Why would
but
I go for the funny part.
I actually support the decision. And I worked with most of the people in the White House Correspondents Association. Eugene Daniels is a very serious journalist. And I think it was actually the prudent decision.
Okay.
Now, is The View making a statement by asking, what do you think? And then going to the conservative? Are they making the statement that Amber Ruffin should be allowed to attend? Are they making the statement that Amber Ruffin should be clearly invited? You mean she says that people who support Trump are not human, and the first thing that Whoopi Goldberg says isn't, hey, that's wrong, that's really gross? The first thing Whoopi Goldberg doesn't say is, that's exactly how they used to view black people. And maybe some still do. How gross is that? And of course, we can be clear, utilizing this in a historical context, that you call people subhuman because it's easier to harm them because they're not human, and therefore they deserve whatever it is you do to them. Whoopi Goldberg didn't go to that. She was like, free speech. As opposed to, well, that's gross. That's gross. There are going to be people who would defend her showing up and being there. I think the bigger question is, how in the world can you be funny if you feel that way? How is that possible? Johnny Carson, yeah, I know I went a little bit old school, discussed in an interview with Mike Wallace years ago that it is so easy to fall in the trap of believing that your position actually gives you power and import and gives you this desire to influence. And you have to fight that, because once you go down that road, you can't come back. No one in the late night sphere believes this, of course. Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, they live for this, not entertaining an audience, entertaining half of America, not the whole of America. And the executives of these outfits support it because sometimes in their news programming, they actually have to give the other side some credit or give the other side some due. So what happens is that late night TV ends up being this kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the audience to let their friends know and their fellow travelers know that they're just like them. Oh yeah, I mean, we had to do this thing over here, but we you know where we really stand. You know what we really are. That's why the late night show exists. The White House Correspondents Association does realize that they have to cover Trump and they have to cover this team. And right now, all we're hearing about is how the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, is making changes to the White House briefing room. They're going to be changing the seating arrangement because the thought process is that the administration is going to take over the seating assignment and take it away from the White House Correspondents Association. First, they took away who could be in the room from the White House Correspondents Association. Now they'll change the seating. Now the briefing room is small. It is a valuable real estate. And it was, there was Helen Thomas front and center. There was Sam Donaldson. I mean, going back to the old school, now you see it, Ducey has his seat and NBC is next to him. And all these people have their seats. And the riffraff can sit in the back or they can stand. That's going to change. That is going to now change. Should it, shouldn't, should it be the only the purview of the White House Correspondents Association? Well, the argument is, Jackie Heinrich made this argument, I think, best from Fox News. If you change it, one day your party won't be in power, and now it's changed. So, But this all going back to the dinner, this all going back to how things are covered, this all going back to how the left sees things. This is all pretext for the summer of love. Let's call it the summer of rage. That story is up next. I'm Tony Katz. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today. And that sound you hear is a mystery guest using my bathroom. That's actually happening. Very rarely. Like, I am not an in-studio person. I like silence when I do the thing. I mean, there's a guest, right? There's a guest. But I like, people have often been like, hey, would you be part of this fundraiser where people could actually watch you do the show? And I'm like, no, it's not how I work at all or operate. But every now and again, someone does swing by and I got to handle something quick. And so it's very rare. Sarah's been in the studio when I do the show. Wait, hold on. Has Sarah been in the studio when I do the show? Sarah? Like, I don't even see Landon. I have no idea what he looks like. I don't know. I've never seen him. So meanwhile, we're going to get back to the show in a minute. And I'm looking forward to that because who picked Amber to host? The White House Correspondents Association. Eugene Daniels, who was with Politico and now is going to be an MSNBC host, and he's the head of the White House Correspondents Association. He did. They know what is going to happen. They know how they're going to act. They don't care. It's only when the pressure gets too great where they're like, oh, we can't do this now. That is it. That's all there is. But I do want to get into this conversation of the summer of rage, the summer of love. Let's get to it. I think I put Summer of Love on the show title. Should have been Summer of Rage. All of the conversation regarding the town halls and Republicans being jeered and, oh, look, they're booing Republicans. It's Republicans who hate other Republicans and they hate the Trump administration. No part of that is true. There was an article over at The Hill that was how Republicans are unhappy with what the administration is doing. And of course, there's this conversation about buyer's remorse. And no part of that is true by any stretch. Tony Katz today. Great to be here. Great to be here with you. What I argue is true is that the summer of love is coming, which is to say the summer of rage. And if you missed my conversation with Victoria Spartz, Congresswoman from the Indiana 5th District, I'll share that with you coming up. Sometimes you've been around long enough, and sometimes you're aware enough to realize that some things are never going to end. The American left did not care that George Floyd died because of the drugs that were in his system and not a knee that was on his neck. The knee did not kill him. I'm no Derek Chauvin fan, but the knee did not kill George Floyd. It didn't matter. All you needed was the starting gun. It's all you needed. A media that would be complicit, a political atmosphere where they would take a knee. It's all you needed. And then we saw the destruction and the murder that took place. And then it started to wane a bit. And then Trump got elected because people saw that and said, this is just gross. And now you see, as we were discussing earlier, the president being shot at. You're seeing the mob mentality on college campuses against Jewish students and others. You're seeing the destruction of vehicles. The question before us is, why would anybody think that would end? And I want to state now that I don't believe any part of that is ending. I don't believe there's any desire for it to end. I would argue, like you would, that the left has learned nothing. It was the New York Times, I believe, in an editorial. And I think I have the story. If you go to TonyKatz.com and you get the show sheet, it's there. That the left is in denial about the election. They've learned nothing about what caused Trump to win. They have one playbook. They have one mode of operation. It is to dehumanize those they disagree with. It is to disparage those they disagree with based on their religion or based on anything else. None of that matters. If you have the wrong political ideology, you are the enemy. Engage you as subhuman and then attack. And I have no reason not to believe that what's been happening with Teslas is going to happen all across the country in all sorts of places to businesses and all other things. The summer of love, the summer of rage. Yeah, I think that's coming. I'm Tony Katz. I absolutely, positively think that it's coming. And I would argue preparedness matters for your business and for your life and for your family. I never once think that because I'm on this side of the microphone that somehow I'm going to, it's different. Like somehow it's going to more affect me. Now, don't get me wrong. I might be more of profile because I do this every day. And there are people far bigger than me in radio, TV, other things. They've got a larger profile and might be more in a crosshairs. But since we're seeing all these things happen locally, I don't question it. I don't doubt it. I have made my own moves to creating better security apparatus. I thought maybe naively that moment had passed from a few years ago. Nope. I feel it more than ever. And I have absolutely no doubt, there's not a question to me that this is the objective. Why? Because the progressive left, indeed, as the New York Times writes, has learned nothing. They still believe that you are the problem, not them. The problem is you were not made to fear enough. You were not made to be compliant enough. You were not forced enough through all the means that force can bring to doing what they want. Remember, the left hates you for who you are and what you believe, but most importantly, they hate you for not thinking like they do. And with that in mind, and we see, you don't hate Elon Musk? Well, we'll destroy your vehicle. Well, wait, I hate Elon Musk. I just own a Tesla. Too late. I don't care about Elon Musk. I just bought a car. I thought being green was good. Doesn't matter. With that, why would I think it ends? Why would I not think the opposite, that it's going to grow? Because I am a believer that it's going to grow. We see what's happening at town halls with the disruption. By the way, protest is fine. Disruption inside is ridiculous. Asking a tough question, solid. Booing somebody and screaming at a member of Congress while they're answering, ridiculous. There could be boos, but then everybody settles it down and they finish and you disagree. I'm not voting for them anymore. I'm walking out. And you all fine. The purposeful disruption, the planned disruption. Let me say it again. They're showing up at these places and they're being handed scripts with chants. None of this is grassroots. This is all funded. This is all coordinated, every bit of it. And there's another one that's supposed to be coming in the first week in April. For a party that believes that the only way to prove your decency is to engage in protest, and by the way, protesting something, anything, it doesn't matter. My father used to argue that eventually the left will hold up signs that say, "Give me something." They don't know what they're protesting. They don't know why they're protesting it. But dang it, give them something. Give me anything. I don't know, an egg sandwich on a bagel, but not with poppy seeds that get in my teeth. Give me something. My father was not wrong on that one. He was wrong on many things. He was not wrong on that one. Yes, that is what's coming. I don't see how everything doesn't lead to that place. Now, I had made a promise we were going to do longer live streams, and we are. It's just not today. And I apologize, but it's not. The show continues. You can go to WIBC.com, and you can get the live stream there. That is for sure. And you can listen to the rest, excuse me, of the show. My thanks to Flederman Von Reest. Look at that beauty. Look at it, my gosh, that is glorious right there. You can go to vonreest.com and get your watch and use promo code CATZ, KATZ, and get your discount, vonreist.com, and use promo code KATZ, KATZ, and get your discount. And my thanks, as always, to you. And don't forget, Trump and American Reset in 3 bourbons. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Sellout is approaching. I am thrilled. Kokomo, Indiana, April 17th, sponsored by Laser Precision Marksmanship Club. Incredible, excellent, wonderful people. Laser Precision Marksmanship Club, laserpmc.com. Go now. You talk to them, learn how to shoot the right way. And if you like to start a business, franchises now available. And you should go and check them out, be a part of it. And then I'll see you April 17th. Tickets.tonykatz.com. It's going to be fantastic. I'll be back tomorrow. We will have the longer live. Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, it's a longer live stream tomorrow. Yes, that's going to happen. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad we're all building and growing. We'll have more tomorrow, guys. Take care.